One Friday evening, Matthew stops by a car dealership after work. He gets into the $38,500 sedan he has been looking at for a while, takes it for a short test drive, and decides to buy it. Kevin, who works in the same office, makes a different choice a few days later. Instead of buying the same model, he leases it for 36 months. They both drive the same car. They commute to the same job, put on a similar number of miles, and earn $100,000 a year. During the first few months, Kevin's decision looks much smarter. But 10 years later, the picture looks very different. Which one has the higher monthly payment? Which one ends up getting more financial value from the money leaving his pocket over the next 10 years? Let's simplify the comparison. Because fuel, insurance, and taxes can vary significantly depending on the person and the state, we'll assume those costs are the same for both of them. Kevin won't exceed his mileage limit, and he won't pay any excess wear and tear charges. In other words, we're not going to make leasing look worse by adding surprise costs later. Matthew puts $5,000 down. He finances the remaining $33,500 for 60 months at an annual interest rate of 5.9%. His monthly loan payment is $646.09. By the end of 5 years, he will have made $38,765.54 in total payments to the lender. Add the down payment, and his total out-of-pocket cost for the car, including financing, comes to $43,765.54. Of that amount, $5,265.54 is interest. Kevin, meanwhile, puts $2,500 down on his first lease and pays $399 per month for 36 months. His total cost over those 3 years is $16,864, and this is exactly why so many people like leasing. Matthew ties up an extra $2,500 in cash on day one. On top of that, he pays $247.09 more every month than Kevin. Kevin keeps more money in his account, drives a brand new car, and carries no auto loan debt. At first, it almost seems like there is nothing to debate. But looking only at the payments made after 3 years gives us an incomplete picture. By that point, Matthew has paid $28,259.32, including his down payment. He still owes approximately $14,592.53 on the loan. If we assume the car is worth $24,000 after 3 years, Matthew has roughly $9,407 in equity in the vehicle. In other words, not all of the money he spent disappeared. Kevin, on the other hand, has spent $16,864, and when his lease ends, he hands back the keys. Even at this point, Kevin is still slightly ahead. If we subtract Matthew's roughly $9,407 in vehicle equity from the amount he has paid, Matthew's net 3-year cost is about $18,852. Kevin's is $16,864. The difference is approximately $1,988. So yes, leasing really does win after 3 years, but not by a crushing $10,000 margin. It wins by roughly $2,000. Kevin goes back to the dealership, turns in the keys, and leases another car in the same class. Again, he puts $2,500 down, but this time his monthly payment rises to $429. Matthew simply keeps driving the same car. There is nothing particularly exciting happening for him yet. No new screen, no new car smell. His loan balance just keeps getting a little smaller every month. At the end of year 5, Matthew makes his final $646.09 payment. By this point, Kevin has completed his first lease and is 2 years into his second one. He has paid a total of $29,660. Matthew's total purchase and financing cost is $43,765.54. But Matthew no longer has any debt, and he owns a car worth approximately $18,000. Let's also add $1,800 in maintenance and wear-related expenses for Matthew during the first 5 years. That means his net 5-year cost is approximately $27,565.54 after adding the $1,800 in maintenance to the $43,765.54 he paid, and subtracting the car's $18,000 value. And this is not because the car increased in value. The car is still depreciating. What changed is that Matthew has escaped the payment cycle. At the end of year 6, Kevin turns in his second car as well. When he starts his third lease, he once again puts $2,500 down, and this time the monthly payment rises to $459. The car sitting in Matthew's garage no longer looks new. It has a few small scratches. The warranty has expired and maintenance costs are beginning to rise. Over 10 years, let's budget a total of $11,700 for Matthew's maintenance, tires, and repairs. That is a substantial amount. At the end of year 10, let's assume the car is still worth $8,500. Now we can calculate the true 10-year cost of buying. The down payment and loan payments total $43,765.54. Maintenance and repairs add another $11,700. That brings Matthew's total cash outflow to $55,465.54. But because he still owns a vehicle worth $8,500, his net economic cost is approximately $46,965.54. On Kevin's side, his third lease also comes to an end. When he starts his fourth contract, he again puts $2,500 down, and his monthly payment rises to $489. If he pays $399 per month for the first 36 months, $429 for the second 36 months, $459 for the third 36 months, and $489 for the final 12 months, his total 10-year cost, including 4 separate $2,500 upfront payments, comes to exactly $62,200. At the end of 10 years, Matthew's net vehicle cost is approximately $46,966. Kevin has spent $62,200, and he still does not own the car he is driving. The difference is roughly $15,234. Kevin spent less money in the early years. If he actually invested the difference, that money would have a future too. So let's give him credit for doing exactly that. Let's assume both men begin with $5,000 available for the car and have a monthly transportation budget of $700. Kevin spends $2,500 on day 1, so he invests the remaining $2,500. Every month, he also invests whatever is left from his $700 budget after making his lease payment. Whenever he starts a new lease, the $2,500 upfront payment comes out of that investment account. Matthew uses the entire $5,000 as his down payment on day 1. During the first 60 months, he invests the $53.91 left over from his $700 monthly budget after making his loan payment. Once the loan is paid off, instead of spending the money that used to go toward the car payment, he invests the full $700 monthly budget. We will also subtract his $11,700 in maintenance costs over 10 years from his investment account. Assuming an average annual return of 7%, Kevin's investment account grows to approximately $41,203 by the end of the 10-year period. Matthew's ends up in roughly the same range. But Matthew also owns a car worth approximately $8,500. This part matters because the lesson here is not that leasing is bad. If Kevin invests the savings created by his lower payments instead of spending them, he can close a large part of the gap. The problem is not the lower monthly payment. The problem is that the extra room created by that lower payment often disappears into everyday spending, without people even realizing it. The same thing applies to Matthew. If he finishes paying off his loan and immediately replaces that $646 payment with another car payment, he destroys much of the strongest financial advantage of buying. Paying for 5 years and then borrowing again in year 6 simply resets the math. If driving a new car every 3 years genuinely matters to you, if you do not want to deal with the risk of major unexpected repairs, or if regularly replacing your vehicle provides a real benefit for your business, leasing can make sense. There is nothing wrong with that. Not every financial decision has to be designed to produce the highest possible net worth. But if your goal is to use a vehicle at the lowest possible long-term cost and redirect the difference into other assets, buying a reliable car and keeping it for many years is usually the stronger strategy. Kevin was winning in year 3. Somewhere around year 5, the results started to reverse. By year 10, Matthew's advantage had become clear. But once Kevin invested his early savings with discipline, the race became much closer again. A dealership can show you your monthly payment. It can tell you the interest rate, the length of the contract, and when you will hand over the keys. But it cannot show you what that decision will turn into in your life 10 years from now. So the next time you buy a car, do not ask only, how much will I pay each month? Ask, when will this payment end? What will I still own when it does? And what will I do with the money that becomes available afterward? Because the true cost is not revealed on the day you drive away from the dealership. The true cost becomes clear years later, when you look back and see where your money actually went. If you want to get one step closer to financial freedom by making smarter financial decisions, subscribe to Money with Tommy, because financial freedom starts with financial wisdom.